Yo, what's good everyone? It's Nathan Cross checking in, and I'm still looking at the LCD screen. Yeah. See, this is why I can understand why cats be wearing glasses when they're vlogging and making videos, because you can't tell whether they're looking at the lens or the actual screen to the side or on the top. You know what, let's just get into it. Alright guys, so the topic of this video, as you've probably determined thus far from the title, is that I personally don't think at this point that a lot of athletes out there are training hard enough. And this is just based on my experience from playing soccer, football, running track, a lot of these high school sports. But let's just focus on high school athletes predominantly for the purpose of this video. Now, in doing so, I guess some of the primary questions you want to ask yourself, let's just start with this. What are you working on when you're practicing? When you're practicing alone, when you're practicing with your friends? Don't worry about what you're going to be doing during your team practices or maybe your rep team practices outside of school. Focus on what you're doing on your own. On one side of the game, you could be focusing on the actual concepts, different things you can be studying up on, either more the rules, maybe more of the technicalities as far as your position is concerned, maybe the biomechanics of how your body works and how that's going to translate properly to the game. It doesn't matter whatever you're playing, you got to make sure you're working on those aspects of the game, well, every aspect, but especially the components of your game and your skill set that aren't the best. If I'm a wide receiver and I really like running these fade routes because, you know, I ran a lot of track and predominantly just making that cut to the outside, running downfield, that's where I'm gonna be dominating, being my DB. But if I'm really not that great at maybe press coverage, then maybe I should be working more on my releases. Maybe I've got some nice releases and my quick slant is awesome, but I don't have great stride length on my 3-step slant. So that's where my disadvantage is gonna be. And that's gonna translate to your other routes too. Another important consideration is, what do I need to train? And that basically just means, what equipment do I need, if I need any equipment at all. I mean, the first thing you want to consider is, if you're playing on grass, you're playing on turf, make sure you show up to practice wherever you are with your cleats. Make sure they're working right, make sure they fit you properly, which is an important thing always as far as preventing injury and making sure you're comfortable. Always a really good thing. You got some shorts, t-shirt, or maybe whatever it is you're comfortable with practicing with. Other thing, show up to practice with water. Show up to practice with people still don't do this. Show up to practice with water. Every single practice, make sure you've got enough water for yourself and maybe a teammate if anything, but worry about yourself first and foremost, because a lot of guys don't show up with water. That's a huge thing. But ultimately, as far as equipment is concerned, that's something that you can sort of work your way around. If you have, all you really need sometimes, depending on your position, is maybe a couple of cones, maybe 5 or 6 cones, or maybe even 4 cones. You can do so much with just 4 cones, regardless of whatever position you are playing. And it's a simple thing. You can do so much research out there to find the amount of drills that will help you in your position just with a couple of cones. And if you don't have cones, find random objects and bring them to wherever you're practicing. If you don't even have access to a field, find a park or maybe anywhere with a big strip of grass that you can use, and use that as a resource, as a training area. It doesn't have to be amazing, it doesn't have to be a turf field. We didn't always have a turf field, the place that I'm practicing and coaching at. It wasn't always a turf field. It was a huge grass field with dirt and patches, and it wasn't pretty, but that's what we had to deal with. One of the third and most important things is making sure that you're showing up to a training session with whoever it is with a mindset and a plan. All right, if you know how many people you're gonna be training with, maybe create a plan for 3 people, maybe create a plan for 5 people, maybe even just create a plan for 1 if it's gonna be you working out on your ones. You feel me? Like, just make it simple for yourself. Have an established plan on how long you're going to be training for. So you don't want to just go out there, maybe it's you and one other friend, and you're going to be out there for 3 hours. For what? You do not need to be out there. Like Steven and I, we went out to train at Centennial Park. It's here in Toronto. We saw these guys out there for they started after we did, and they were still going when we finished. And the thing is, a lot of time, there was a lot of walking, there was a lot of talking, there wasn't that much intensity, and I get that it was hot, but dudes, you guys gotta have a plan and approach it intensely. Right? There's 2 of you to split repetitions, but with that being said, it's gotta be fast, one after the next, one after the next, one after the next. Make sure you're doing your drills and executing them correctly, but at the same time, you wanna make it fast paced. You only wanna move, as far as football practice is concerned, at 1 speed, and that's fast. That's the concept that we're gonna apply during the season in September. So ultimately, you gotta apply the same thing during your training sessions.